Recording in progress.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Finance and Administration Committee meeting for Thursday, December 19, 2024. My name is Jim Spear. I am the chair of this committee, and the other two council members on this committee are Michael Gardini, Mike Salmonson. Tonight we have with us, as always, Manager Matt West. Our incoming manager is here, Maggie Dobbs. And I'm sorry, what's your, Kelsey Fisher is, what's your title?
Records clerk.
Records clerk. I should have asked before, but yes. And Jeff is here, Jeff Eldon is here too. Full house. Okay, let's have, I understand we don't have minutes from last month quite prepared yet, so we'll deal with that next month. Treasurer's report.
So the treasurer's report was included in tonight's meeting packet. Nothing out of the ordinary. If you just scroll all the way down to the bottom of the general fund, you're going to see that we're currently at 89.7% of our budget. That'll be reduced by about $300,000 because if you look near the end there, that interfund transfers out. That transfer to the capital fund, we have that $300,000 that was budgeted. We just made that, it just hit the bank account this week, so it's not showing up on this scheduled bills or this month to month. It'll show up on next month's. And so that'll be the more accurate number for us for 2024, but I do anticipate a slight surplus by the end of the year. And if you also scroll all the way back up to the top, you're going to see that our earned income tax continues to outperform. Remember, we did budget amendment number 3 that adjusted our budget amount to $1.296 million for earned income, and through November we're actually over $1.3 million. So we're about $10,500 over our projected amount. And that, just to remind this committee, that is something that you all need to continue to track year over year. Since it's a relatively new revenue line item for us, it don't really have really good long-term data yet. And you remember that my recommendation moving forward to next year would be to keep an eye on your EIT and any of the surplus that is achieved in 2025. My recommendation would be to consider to transfer that to your capital fund. Other than that, nothing out of the ordinary.
Okay. Any questions? Either of you guys? No. All right. We will move on. And item 3 is website update, updated website recommendation, social media review. Someone want to, Mike, do you want to introduce this?
Sure. So as you guys know, I sort of volunteered to take the lead on trying to develop a communication plan and policy, and as part of that, a small part of that is the website recommendation to update what I would consider a pretty antiquated version of our website. Lots of people complain that it's not user-friendly necessarily. So I met with Casey a couple of weeks ago to discuss that, and I believe that she's going to have a recommendation for us on our choices for potential different kinds of websites and discussion on that. So take it away, Kelly.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. So, as Mike mentioned, I'd like to share about how we can move forward with the new website, as well as our social media and newsletter. So let's get started. So,
Just kick me in.
yeah, absolutely. So our goals are to set ourselves apart from outdated borough sites that all look the same. Obviously, we're a bit outdated at this point. We want to implement easy navigation into our website. We want to be user-friendly and more active across all platforms. And we want to reflect the close-knit community of Narberth and come up with a clear, clean, and thoughtful design. Next.
Oh, just waiting for the cake.
So our main 3 options are Civic Plus, Course Vector, and Revise. So I'd love to share a little bit about each. So Civic Plus, they're very well known and they have very nice designs, but their designs get a bit repetitive. They use pre-made templates, which is okay, that's kind of standard. They have the lowest upfront cost, but they also have the highest annual cost. They use open source software, meaning the source code for the source code for the software is published and made available to the public, which means that anyone can inspect, modify, and enhance it, making it more prone to hackers, and we don't want that. So Matt, if you want to click on our example here, so we can see what a website for Civic Plus would look like.
Sure.
Maybe not. Maybe control click. All right, we're not gonna have any examples today, but that's fine.
Yeah, check out annapolis.gov.
Absolutely. So we can move to our next slide, that is course vector.
Probably got broken when you put it in the PDF, huh?
Yeah, that makes sense. So I don't have much to say about course vector, to be completely honest. They're relatively commonly used. They are Pennsylvania State Association of Bros Designers, and there just isn't anything to really be excited about. They are not design forward, and if we're not going to be design forward, why would we change anything? We could just keep our current website as is. I had an example for you guys. My hometown, Collegeville. So if I'm willing to put that out there, you guys can always check it out.
Collegeville.
It's not anything exciting. It's very plain,
Yeah.
kind of bland. So just nothing to be too excited about. So our third recommendation, this is my personal recommendation, this would be Revise. They are the most personalized, customizable, and design forward. They have coded their own security system instead of using open source software like their competitors, which makes them more secure. They are very clean, easy to navigate, user-friendly, and very well designed. I'd love to show you an example, but you'll just have to head to victoriamn.gov. They are the most upfront, but less annually than Civic Plus, and I find them to be the most thoughtful out of our options. So I'm going to head to the next slide.
That's cool.
Yeah.
They have a really beautiful site, so I recommend checking it out. It's gorgeous.
This is a template too?
So, no templates.
Oh, okay.
It's all customized, all personal. They make it specifically for us, completely for what we would want it to be, without templates. So I really like what they
I mean,
do.
there's a lot of information on this front page, to click through, which I think is one of the issues on our pages. Often you're looking for something, it takes 2 or 3 clicks to get you there, to even find what you're looking for. Pretty clean.
So if you look at a 5-year plan, we end up with Revise being the most cost effective for what we're getting, despite being the most upfront. This includes a full website redesign after 4 years and a 5-year agreement. Obviously, Course Vector is the lowest, but we'd be getting what we're paying for. We wouldn't be getting much to be excited about.
And the good thing that I really like about the Revise quote is that if you go for a 5-year agreement, you can pay equal amounts throughout that 5 years. And so if you look at the 2025 budget, I have $5,000 budgeted.
It's
Your $5,000 annual budget for a new website. You get a new website to start, and with the Revise, you get a second new website at the end of 5 years. So essentially, you're getting 2 websites for the price of 1.
Thank you, Matt. So I feel like with how we want to move forward as a borough and the message we want to convey, Revise checks all of our boxes. They have the technology and know-how that we need, and they can bring us up to date with things, being user-friendly both for us and for the residents of Narberth at a very fair price for what we'd be offered. So, what's next? So what's next would be, if we have an updated site, we want an updated newsletter and updated social media to go with it. So I know Mike has discussed, both at meetings and with me during our meeting, we have a few different ideas of how we can move forward. So one idea would be something like polls and quizzes. It might seem silly or unnecessary, but having interactive and lighthearted polls on Facebook or Instagram could be a great way to start encouraging engagement with our social media and get not only residents to interact with us, but to interact with each other and just become more social. That's the point of social media. Another idea is changing the frequency of our newsletter. Is it necessary if we send it out every week? Do we want to change it to maybe twice a month or once a month? And this could allow for content to be less repetitive. If we are sending out daily socials and posting daily to our website, especially if we're going to implement new potential features from Revise, like texting updates. We want to be more interactive through our platforms, so that could allow us to potentially send out the newsletter less frequently. Then another couple ideas would be potentially adding trivia to the newsletter, something fun to get residents to want to look each week or each month. And I know Mike has also mentioned doing an employee highlight or a NARB resident highlight, where we can highlight different businesses or fun local stories about what's going on in the area. So people can get to know us better, and so we can get to know residents a little bit better. I know that Mike mentioned, I think there was did you say a PBS documentary?
PBS
Illustrations.
Kids Show that's based on Narberth that, popped up on social media.
Right.
So it would have, that's a good example of, I think we didn't even know there was a Narberth resident involved in that.
Right.
And it's pretty cool, and,
Yeah.
it's sort of gotten everybody's interest. But, so it can either be, highlighting a resident who's doing something interesting, won an award, we should keep our ears out. But also, I'd like to highlight a staff member every month, Public Works, all the way across the
Police officers?
police
Yeah.
officers, like,
Yeah.
people they may know our police officers, but they don't know where they live, they don't know if they have a family, they don't know, what makes them tick, what are their interests, what's their favorite cookie, if you want to give them one on the street. Maybe we need to do that for council members. So just things like that, to sort of create a little more sense of community through social media, I think I've talked about before, and I think that should be part of our overall views of community engagement.
Absolutely. I think it'd be fun to add something that gives you a reason to want to look at the newsletter instead of the regular feed that's there. So I'm going to move to the next slide. So I believe the best way we can move forward would be to use Revise as our new web designer. They are significantly more personalized and designed forward than our competitors, and the annual price is about half the cost of their leading competitor, Civic Plus. And switching from a weekly to monthly newsletter and starting to really utilize our social media would be a great way of better communicating with our community and connecting with our borough. All the same information can be shared, just in a way where we can get more connected.
And I know we have a Facebook. Are there any other social media accounts that we
We
have?
do have an Instagram, so that's it at the moment. It's the newsletter, Facebook, and Instagram. I've been posting to the Instagram on a weekly basis, and right now it's pretty much any flyers that come in, as well as I post our weekly calendar, so everyone knows what meetings are going on and what events are happening. So we can start to utilize that a little bit more and get more connected.
Do we know sort of the analytics for that? Like, are people actually looking at our Instagrams?
I'll have to
Do we
look
have
into
that
how to
ability?
find out for Instagram.
Yeah.
I know how to see for the newsletter, but not
Right.
Instagram yet. But I can look into that.
What's our open rate on the newsletter?
I believe it's 56%.
It's actually,
That's actually
It's
pretty
Yeah,
good.
good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually extraordinarily high.
Mhm.
You hope for like a 25 to 30%.
Yeah, exactly.
Where, doesn't mean everybody's reading everything that's in there, but
Yeah.
they're at least opening it to see if there's anything new. And I think it's helpful that people, it's linked on Facebook in the community groups to not just the official Narberth Borough page, but the people who run Narberth and Narberth Community Network Facebook pages typically put it out there with a link too.
Yeah.
So, what do y'all think?
All that sounds good to me. I mean, I know that having been responsible for an office's e-newsletter, I know that it involves a lot of work. So doing it once a week sounds, I don't know how you, I don't know how you currently do that.
Which is how it's gotten to where it is, where it's just it's really difficult to make it really fresh.
It's not curated,
I'd
right?
love for it to be more thoughtful. It
Yes.
doesn't feel thoughtful at the moment, it's kind of just the same information pushed out each week.
So
Yeah.
would this be, once we sign on to these people, they would sort of work for us to design it, or they have like person hours on their end?
We would be working essentially together.
Yeah.
They would design the whole thing for us with our input.
And that's included in the price?
And it would take a better part of a year
It would take a while, but.
to do.
Okay.
So if this committee is in favor of it, I would ask that you just kind of go, yeah, let's move forward with it so we can then get that contract ready and we can present it next month's meeting cycle,
Mhm.
present the contract to this committee and then ask for council approval, consideration at next month's business meeting.
And does it fits into budgeted
It does.
amount already? Wow.
It does.
Okay.
And then in terms of like the workflow on that, like, how does like, y'all work with them to identify like the information that bid should be available immediate, like, how does like the actual workflow, they're designing it, but like, they need some sort of guidance on like, what are like the activities that need to get highlighted, like that type of work, how does that get determined?
That's going to be Kelsey. She's going to be project managing it, and I expect her to be, integrating some comments and feedback from this committee as well, and Mike especially, and just have her be that point person to work one-on-one with Revise to get that flow solidified. I don't know what it is right yet. I know the contract, they have a whole process that they go through. I think that'll be more known once you go over the contract next month. Because they put a workflow in that proposal as well. Expected time, expected hours, what are the touch points? Do you just want to take what's on your website and just plop it here? Or do you want to go through and say, yes, this belongs here, no, let's not, you put that one there. That's going to be the time consuming part of it.
Makes sense.
Yep. And if you don't mind me using you as an example, New Hanover Township, where Maggie came from, they use Revise. And so
good.
Maggie's got experience interacting with the website from the back end also.
Well, then let's ask Maggie. Were you happy with it?
I was.
Good.
It's user friendly on the back end. I was not part of the
Yeah.
design, the initial design, but as a continued user of the website, it's very easy to go in. You upload your documents into the folder structure, and then it links to, so updating the calendar. Because once we put everything into the design, there's really not going to be a lot of new things that we have to add. The Revise team can assist in, if we need to build out new pages for various projects to host, additional pages. And Kelsey has been working more with them to kind of understand what that will look like. But from a kind of day-to-day update and user friendliness, it's really easy to use to update calendars, to update application forms, to post documents, agendas, all of that. So it's I think it's going to be a good selection. I think there's been a strong argument made for it. I like the fact that we can kind of design it to how we want it to look. And then it's a really nice program. Then at the end of it, we can kind of revamp it then after the 5 years. And it's completely customizable as we go. So if there's anything to change within the 5 years, we can continue to tinker with it. So I found it easy to use, so I'm excited to be implementing that if that's the pleasure of council.
Cool.
There's a whole bunch of add-ons that we didn't even talk about that really sets them apart too. Integratable forms, those sorts of things that are a lot more integrated than what we have now. Right now, we're just uploading applications, fillable PDFs.
Yeah.
This platform has an ability to create actually fillable forms that can be submitted and help our workflow as well.
Yeah, and we talked about that when it came to like trying to have like a form
Yeah.
so that folks felt like they could submit that if they had comments they wanted to make in council meetings but couldn't attend a meeting or didn't want to make the comments. So the ability to have that
Yeah.
sort of thing makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just to continue to say it again, it will take a year.
Yeah.
So to be thoughtful, to get a really good website, it's going to be a long process. So have patience.
So I think you wanted our sense of whether we're in favor of it.
Yeah, if you'd like us to move
Yeah.
forward with this, if you
Yeah.
would make that recommendation that you believe advise is the way to go, we'll go ahead and work up that proposal and put it on next month's meeting cycle for consideration.
Sounds good.
I think we're there.
Great, excellent.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Should I?
Oh, you're not gonna stick around?
Have a
Oh, I
cookie.
know.
It's up to you, you can leave.
Okay.
All right, I will see you guys another time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're gonna be sick of me in a year, but
Oh, maybe
Whole
you'll be
year.
sick of me in a year.
if you're sick of me by November, you can just tell everybody not to vote for me.
Fair enough.
There we go.
Thank you so much. Have a good night, guys.
All right, let's move on to action items. So, why don't these are all motions, right? Or wait.
They'll be on tonight's agenda.
Yeah. Well, okay, first is schedule of bills.
I move to recommend schedule bills for the general sewer, solid waste, capital, highway, and green funds totaling $201,780.49.
I will second that.
So there's nothing out of the ordinary on tonight's schedule of bills. As I said earlier during my treasurer's report, that $300,000 check from general fund to the capital fund did not make this schedule of bills. You'll see it during next month's meeting cycle.
All right.
Need to vote?
Oh, yeah, all in favor? Great. Unanimous recommendation for the schedule of bills. Okay, B. Why don't I read the motion, then one of you guys can say so moved or something like that. Okay. B, motion to adopt resolution 2024-26, 2025 fee schedule.
So moved.
So moved, yes.
Second.
Second.
Well, I like it.
Yeah.
We're getting efficient, I like it.
Yeah.
So this is the last of our end-of-year motions that we need to have council consider. This sets our fee schedule for 2025. That was attached to the meeting packet tonight, and it is also attached to the meeting packet for council. There's one minor change, that was the police accident report. It was $15 and not $5. I think it was $5 last year. It's supposed to be $15. And the major change is the fee schedule for the sewer and solid waste, which council adopted as part of your 2025 budget.
Okay.
And all the other fees are consistent with last year's fee schedule?
Yes, we had considered reviewing subdivision land development application fees, but we just ran out of time.
Okay.
And so that's something that Maggie and I have talked about, and that's really one of Maggie's specialties, and expect her to be reviewing that either in the new year or waiting until next year's fee schedule cycle.
So most of these are bumped from last year?
Yes.
As is, okay.
Yes.
And what was the EV charger kilowatt hour?
So we're not at the position to make that recommendation yet.
Okay.
The EAC has asked for an additional month's worth of electric bills so they can track it over a 2-month period. So once we get their recommendation from the EAC, we could update this fee schedule. This fee schedule can be updated
Yeah,
by council at any time.
Sounds good.
Okay, I just gotta ask, what's a huckster permit for?
I actually know what that is.
Favorites.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. Anytime anybody, like Mr. Softy comes into town,
Oh, yeah?
you have to get a permit, and it's supposed to be per day.
Per day?
It's supposed to be.
Wait, this is $100/90 days. So.
Yep. That's the fee schedule that overrides what it was originally. I remember when I was here, Narberth 1.0, Mr. Softy every day would come in and give me a $10 bill. I'd print him out a permit, and it'd be good for that one day.
Okay, so this is actually $100 for 90 days.
And I think huckster permits only apply to like street and sidewalk
Right.
vendors, right?
Yeah.
Not park vendors or event
Right.
vendors, yeah.
Anyone on our streets or public right of way.
Okay.
I just love the name.
I know, that's why I had to ask.
Yeah, huckster.
At,
Was that?
Sorry, go ahead.
at some point, well, and this may be something we want to look at as we get, a full year's worth of data on, next year on the parking permit system. We may want to just take a look at the fee schedule in the future. So I just wanted to flag, because this
Yeah.
matches up with what our resolution says their rates should be, but it may just be something we want to keep on the radar for a future fee schedule.
At what point in the year should we start looking at that so it can be this time next year? Could look at it with
I
us.
would start looking October, November,
Mhm.
because this is once the budget is done, then we move into the fee schedule.
Yeah.
So right around the same time, because
Okay.
we're gonna wanna start looking at parking data, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and we know like, it's probably not perfect, we have like, you can probably back out what the costs of that system are as a whole
Yeah.
relative to whether that program is covering its costs.
Right,
Or whether it's being subsidized by the rest of the general fund
Right.
effectively.
yeah. I know this has not been a topic this past year, but I know previously council has talked about having rental inspections. I know it's a whole big regime we would need to launch, but is there any possibility of that, like looking into what rental inspections might cost us, and how we could structure a fee schedule for that?
If that is something that council is interested with moving forward with, yes. That would include coordinating with our building code official and Yerkes. They would be the ones who would be pretty much moving that forward.
Okay.
So we would need to, draw the parameters.
Yeah,
The parameters, which would then define what the fee schedule would be.
Okay. So that's beyond the scope of this committee right now, I think, but I thought I'd ask about it.
Yeah, I think we've all been, had the bug put in our ear about that, by people in the community, that we don't have a robust inspection system for rental properties, so.
Yeah, it's a good
if
idea.
somebody has a complaint about a landlord, they don't really have a way to make sure that the landlord's complying with our codes.
It's a good idea. We should try to put it on an agenda for next year to talk about.
Staff time, it
Yeah.
would take additional staff time.
Yeah,
Right.
and expense, I mean, we're paying for somebody to do
But-
those inspections, so.
But we have the capacity to do it. It would be Yerkes. They know this is not new to them, and they're ready to have this conversation with council when you're ready to have the conversation.
Okay. All right, noted. So all in favor of adopting, or any further questions on the fee schedule? All in favor of adopting the fee schedule that's adopted or recommended? Recommended, yes. C, motion to adopt draft change for Police Advisory Committee.
So moved.
Second?
So this actually was born out of this committee, when we were going through our boards and commissions charges and just kind of coming up with goals and objectives. And the Police Advisory Committee, while it reports to the Public Health and Safety Committee, this was the first charge that was developed. And so since it originated here, I thought it was appropriate for you all to hear that we have our first charge that has been completed and will be in front of council this evening for adoption. So kudos to this group for spearheading it. I just wanted to bring it before you to say, hey, look, we've got one ready.
That's really great. Awesome. I like the look of it.
I guess, since I was on PHS, it was the result of a pretty good iterative process between Public Health and Safety and the PAC itself. We did have some back and forth with them, so I think it's a
Great.
reflection of, both Public Health and Safety's and the PAC's, we're both comfortable
Yeah.
with it, I guess. is the best
Yeah,
way.
PHS also made the recommendation for council to consider it as well.
It looks good. It's a good form. Maybe it could be like a template for
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
others
you beat
going
me to
forward.
it.
1 down, 11 to go. All right, so all in favor of recommending that? Yes, great, thank you. Motion to appoint Lee Davis as chair of the Environmental Advisory Council, appearing in the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
So our current EAC chair, Joe Toscano, notified the borough that he is soon to be transitioning into a new job, new employer, which will prohibit him from spending as much time on our EAC as he has been. He still wants to be involved in our EAC. He just feels as though he cannot act as the chair moving forward. And so his recommendation was to appoint the vice chair, Lee Davis, as chair of the borough's Environmental Advisory Council. And this is the one board in the borough's universe where council gets to appoint the chair of the EAC, which is why it's before you.
Yep, understood. Okay, all in favor of recommending that? Yes, we all recommend that. Excellent, thank you, thank you. Okay, I'm not sure how we're handling this one, but okay, a motion to appoint Maya Taylor to the Human Relations Commission, term ending December 31st, 2026.
I will move, and I think we can second, and then I'll.
Yeah,
I'll second.
Okay. We got this application just recently. My only concern, and I'd like to speak to Ms. Taylor, I think it's great that we have a young person who wants to be on the commission. My only concern is her availability. Part of the HRC's charge is actually to have investigations and/or hearings, which, especially for a hearing, probably should be in person. It's better to be in person. My experience, having been before many human relations commissions and the EOC, is you need to evaluate credibility and follow up, etc. And you're somewhat constrained by having that done by Zoom. That's a little bit of my litigation bias. You don't get to judge witness credibility in the same way. So I just have that concern, and I'd like to speak to her about that and have a comfort level. That is only one piece of the HRC, and as you guys know, I'm also in the middle of trying to come up with a recommendation to modify the number of people on the HRC and potentially what their charge looks like anyway. So it kind of makes sense from my perspective to table this and maybe bring it back next month.
what do you think?
I think especially if you have kind of concerns about being able to meet the, call them requirements, then yeah, I think it makes sense to defer to Mike to kind of follow up and reach a level of comfort, because obviously these are all council appointments. We want to make sure that the body is comfortable with them.
Yeah, I agree, I think so. I think also generally, we need to have a better procedure for how to deal with people who apply and then, when there's a vacancy and someone applies,
Yeah.
we need to have some kind of evaluation period, I think, before they just become appointed. Anyway.
Yeah, I think that she should, either attend by Zoom or, there should be some more formal vetting, right? Either attend by Zoom or come to the meeting, explain why they want to serve, etc. I mean, the application covers all of that,
Yeah.
but I do think it's showing a level of commitment to actually appear and,
Some
Subject.
municipalities actually have an appointments committee
Yeah,
that
yeah.
just meet on that, as need basis.
Yeah.
And usually it's the council president and then 2 other members of council.
Yeah,
I don't want to create, a barrier to entry by saying, oh, you have to show up and be
Yeah.
intimidated by all of us because we're so intimidating. But I do think it's, they should at least make an appearance before us and make themselves available for questions to follow up on the application.
okay.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Having said what I just said, this is our evaluation. pretty
Yeah,
much, right?
I mean, we
You're
should
bringing
be-
these- You're bringing these appointments to us in this committee, so yeah.
Yes.
And here we are talking about it, that's right, okay.
So maybe it would be to see if she would be available to meet this next meeting
Yeah.
for a finance
Yeah.
amendment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what
Either
I was
in
kind of
person
thinking.
or by Zoom.
Okay.
By Zoom is fine if she's in class. She might be home.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of thinking, like if we develop some sort of general set of expectations for what the folks that are applying, like so that they know ahead of time, hey, you're gonna be on this agenda.
Good, so what should our recommended date, do we need to amend, do we need to?
I think we're just tabling the motion, right?
Your recommendation would be for council to not approve that appointment pending additional interview or, discussion at the next finance and admin with this applicant.
Okay. We agreed on that?
Yeah.
Can we vote on that? Yes, okay. Excellent, thank you. That is it for the action items. We're going to move on to discussion items. A, rules and procedures, Borough Council.
Another draft has been
Yep.
produced, and then, so now we're gonna circulate it both with staff and solicitor, and make sure everyone has eyes on it again, and obviously, the rest of council.
I think we're there.
Yeah.
Or I don't know.
I think so, but I just wanna make sure
Yeah, no,
everyone.
I mean, I'm hoping that maybe we can get, well, actually, this is just our internal rules, right? Does it actually have to be approved formally by motion, or how does that?
If it applies to all council should see it and approve it and adopt it, since you
Okay.
all want to abide by it.
Yeah, in the past, I think it was, the past versions looked like they were approved, adopted by a resolution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. B, boards and commissions review, Human Relations Commission, as we were just talking about.
Yeah, we were just talking about, I want to talk to, one or two other commissions about, I think I explained to you, we're probably gonna reduce the size of the commission. You don't really need necessarily the commission to be as large as it is. And we've had trouble, notwithstanding our recent application, having a full commission. The one thing that Rebecca and I discussed, and I'm not sure we necessarily agree on this, is one way to handle the manpower issue is to allow for delegation of, the commission has two functions, investigation and they can make a fact finding and find that discrimination occurred. But the other side is mediation, and the mediation has to be separate, the personnel from the mediation has to be separate from the fact-finding investigators, right, and adjudicators. So one thing we talked about is potentially specifically allowing the commission to delegate the mediation function, because that does not have to be a member of the commission. Right? That can be anybody. We have actually mediators in the community. My cross-street neighbor is actually an experienced EEO mediator, so he's like an obvious choice. I thought he'd be an obvious choice for the commission, but he'd be an obvious person that they could delegate to. And that's perfectly, the EOC uses third-party mediators when they're shorthanded. They have a professional mediation staff, but there's nothing that prevents you from doing that. So I think that's going to be my recommendation. That's one way to handle the manpower issue. And then you're not pulling a commissioner out to do the mediation, and now you have one less commissioner to do the investigation, because you're going to need a quorum of whatever our number is to make an adjudication, if that makes sense. The other thing that I do want to recommend and get your guys' input in is the one thing that we do not have in our ordinance that has sort of become more prevalent is what I'll call income source discrimination. I can't remember whether we talked about this last month or Rebecca raised it, but the idea is that people who are renting properties cannot discriminate based on the source of their income. So if they have a voucher and that's sufficient to pay for their rental property, the landlord can't say, well, I don't want to sign somebody who has a housing voucher, or whatever it might be, disability income, etc. So I do think that that's a recommendation for a formal change to the ordinance to add that in.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that's been on my mind for a while. But I wasn't sure what state law did or did not allow us to do, so.
So remember that state law, the way the Pennsylvania Human Relations Act works is that you can have local ordinances that are at least coterminous with the PHRC or broader.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons, the whole reason we adopted I shouldn't say the whole reason, but a primary driver of adopting this ordinance a couple of years ago was that the PHRA did not explicitly cover sexual orientation and similar types of discrimination. And so there was this movement across the state of, let's add that. So it's not like the home rule charters for guns where you can't adopt more restrictive gun regulations, only the state can. We can be broader than the state law, we can't be narrower.
Narrower, gotcha. Yeah, I think that's a great thing for us to look at.
Okay.
All right, very good, sounds good. So that is in progress,
Yep.
we'll call that. Next is Shade Tree Commission. Thanks Matt for the E-code login. I went in and checked out the Shade Tree Commission mentions in our ordinance. And the Shade Tree Commission ordinance is actually very, very short. The bulk of it is in the tree ordinance. It's a separate from the Shade Tree Commission ordinance. The Shade Tree Commission ordinance just says that this is the entire thing right here. Council is hereby authorized to empower, appoint 5 citizens. I'm sorry. And the tree ordinance, I didn't print that one out, but it says Shade Tree Commission ordinance has authority over all trees in the right-of-way. Right-of-ways are defined in the definitions section. I think we need to look at that because that seems kind of ambiguous, like what is ultimate right-of-way? I think we currently have a permitting process, for instance, to trim and remove trees that are in the right-of-way. But Jeff, does that only apply to the right-of-way that's on the other side of the sidewalk?
That's how the permit is
Yeah.
applied for, yes.
Currently, I didn't find any distinction between, I just found right-of-way, ultimate right-of-way is, 10 feet into people's yards, so, there's some ways where the Shade Tree Commission's authority is overly broad, and somewhere.
Has it ever been I won't say inappropriately, because if they have the power, but invoked in a way
No,
that's like
never-
the private property
No,
owner's
we've
gonna be
never
like, what are you doing on my tree?
Yeah, we've never exercised authority over trees in people's, unambiguously in people's yards before. It's only the,
But you're right, we should fix that.
yeah, we should clean this up with some new definitions, at least. Also, it's mentioned, Shade Tree Commission is mentioned under plan review for zoning and the landscape ordinance as well. So it kind of touches on a lot of different things. All right, but let's move on for now. That'll be a ongoing thing. I attended the last Shade Tree Commission meeting and I alerted them that we're going to be doing this, and so we'll be sitting down with the Shade Tree Commission with Rick and Carson and sort of going through what kind of changes we might like. Cool. All right, I will bring those to the next meeting. Okay. We are at other. Any other? I don't think we have other. No.
There'll probably
There'll be more, but not tonight. Communications plan and public comment guidelines. I had that document online that, Michael, I saw you made some comments on.
It was more like flagging things that I
Yes.
guess we want to discuss, and I don't know that we'll have enough time right now.
Yeah, I
won't
think
tonight.
we're gonna have to talk about next time.
Yeah, so what I'm interested in is, when I drafted just a sample draft, I separated them under headings. I tried to get to what we want from a public comment guideline document, with different topics, so, and how to organize it. So that's, I think, what we need to look at. All right, let's continue to chug on that between meetings. AI summaries. I love this. This is fantastic. So this is a AI summary of the last finance meeting. I think I sent these around. I sent these around to everybody, but this was done to ChatGPT, completely unedited. So there's spelling mistakes and things in here. ChatGPT is able to produce just an almost perfect summary of a meeting, like instantaneously, just from the voice recognition that's going on right now. You know, Zoom can also do this, but I kind of prefer the ChatGPT version. I feel like this could be a tool for releasing news to the public, ultimately, as a pilot. We could consider having a pilot program of, you know, making this available either on the website or posted along with the videos. I find it very useful myself, you know, I tried, I usually watch the EAC meetings, the recording of them, but I thought, oh, why don't I just summarize it instead and see? And I was able to see the entire meeting, you know, what happened to the entire meeting just in 2 or 3 minutes.
So you just gave ChatGPT the link to the video?
You can download a transcript. The transcript that's appearing right now on the screen is available, you know, as a raw transcript.
Oh, and that goes.
You can upload that document and say, please summarize this meeting for me. This is what I got.
It's unbelievable.
It is, it's incredible. I just couldn't believe it. It seems to understand what we're saying. Now, I have talked to John Walco a little bit about this, and he said he didn't see any reason why we could not do this. He thinks that we would need to come up with an approval process, you know, an actual process to, you know, have an eye on it, and also a disclaimer notice. We need to, just for legally making clear that this is not an official meeting record. The minutes are the official meeting record. So I think it's something we should think about. All right, think about it. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you for hearing me out.
Yeah.
I really like this idea. Okay. Cash fund and reserve policy, no update. Unless there's been any update to the no update, no. Okay, number 6, review of ongoing projects.
I think we've already.
None, we've reviewed
Discussed.
all ongoing projects. Actual public comment from people in the room. Ira, would you like to say anything? Is there anybody online?
Nobody online.
Nobody's online, okay, their public comment is closed. Can I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning? Thank you very much.